2016 was a hard year for Leilai Behechtizadeh. Her grandma's die was accompanied close by her mom's, and she found herself possessing to organize 2 funerals in the area of 5 months. This exploit you sense at the period is vast and unspeakable, Leilai says. While it came to organize her mom's burial, it was a actual fight to lid the expenses. While she dead, her mom had fair pound in her banking expense, Leilai says. The regional burial directors she utilized on the island of Wight were sympathetic and useful, and she and her sibling officiated at the burial, and the household stipulated flowers. The draft for the burn came to more than rather than £3,000. Wherever was I imaginary to discover cash love how, says Leilai, who had been a complete time caregiver for her incapable mom for 11 years. I was residing on caregiver's benefit of £62 per 1 week that, by the way, I had been undressed of the time mum excited in a hospice care. I was said to fair go and get a job, I wasn't taking into account any period to upset, she says. In the late, her mom's older sibling pay off a piece of the burial expenses, that leftward a more than obedient sum for her and her siblings to pay away. But down there are more than affordable options accessible. Straight cremations are not visited by mourners, and down there is no burial facility. The flesh is undertaken immediately to a crematory, and the ash are later each refundable to the household, or dispersed at How Crematory's Memory Kindergarten. In David Bowie's instance, his ash were according to reports dispersed in Bali. Sun Life puts the ordinary price of a straight burn at £1,712, that represents a drop of 6.7% with recent year. I would include lost for straight burn had I named it was in stock option, says Leilai. My mum wasn't very one for creature the center of focus or possessing a large make. We could include fair had a easy collection for household and friends instead of, she adds, out of possessing to correspond to the stringent schedule superimposed in a crematory. Just on 2% of cremations are straight at the time, says Sun Life, but consumer demand does appear to be increasing. The UK's other largest burial supplier Virtue saw a quintuple growth in consumer demand for its Ease Straight Burn facility in the at first part of 2018 compared in the identical time in 2017. Down there are now firms who specialize in straight cremations, firms such as Clean Burn. Company founder Catherine Powell says the human beings who opt for straight burn tend to be comparatively rich human beings who could provide a more than abundant email off but just don't wish a. Straight burn tends to circulation to human beings who are not concerned in a balanced and statical and rigid burial, but who wish a festivity of lifetime, she says. Down there's a increasing group of human beings who are utilized to personalizing parties and weddings and to reflecting themselves. Infant boom include modified the way we do piece of music, wedding and recreation, and the is the nature following item. But straight cremations aren't for everyone. To sample, the absence of a facility was especially problematical for several attending who deliberated indifferent. Human beings can schedule their own funerals, or their families can, to hold expenses downward, she says. I can't distress quite how simple it is, she says. Largest human beings die in clinic, and a flesh can be transportable by a household to a crematory or graveyard with any car how secure, she says. Thou can buy a tomb on the internet for a pair of £100, she says. The major price is potential to be the payment royalties, how is, burn, that averages £792, or funeral, that averages £1,960, and any physician's fee for a die certification. Else capacity cheap cost, or not cost, stock option is to sacrifice yours flesh to scientific. Inquiries on flesh gift to controller the Humane Fabric Credibility, HTA, dual among 2015 and 2018 to on 1,600. Yet, a representative for the HTA says, no each flesh can be recognized. Flesh gift cannot be relied on as a technique of avoiding burial expenses. Verdant funeral intrigue in monument trees can price as slight as £600, but they can ban to up to tens of thousands of pounds. One man who opted for a top-end forest funeral was nightclub proprietor Peter Stringfellow, who was buried at Greenacres Children. He says he would perhaps love to be buried by a wood. If you factory a wood, later a wood will increase. He's residing, and thou'll be capable to get several use out of he says. Same's not vigorously planner a burial, but has begun to believe on which he wants to occur following his die. Do you wish a day of weeping, or do you wish a day of festivity, he says. He's a bit love a marriage, you don't he include to expend lot of cash on a solitary date. Down there are alternatives you can utilize.